Good evening, everyone. Do me a favor, please silence your, sorry. I'll try one more time. Good evening, everyone. If you would be so kind to have a brief moment of silence for those who are no longer with us to pay tribute to this beautiful brother. Thank you. On behalf of the Harlem Cultural Archives Historical Society, I would like to express our sincere thanks and appreciation to the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture for its generous hospitality, as well as the Greater Chamber of Commerce, and of course, the Harlem Arts Alliance New Heritage Theater staff. At this time, I'd like to share a message to Voza, and I quote, "Harlem's cultural luminary. In a moment of pure Harlem style, Voza Rivers, legendary producer and curator, receives a richly deserved Harlem Legacy Award from the Harlem Cultural Archives. For decades, he has masterfully preserved Black arts and history, weaving jazz's sultry rhythms with visual masterpieces through unforgettable events, exhibition, and in his support of Harlem World Magazine. This honor from steadfast cultural guardians crowns his profound community legacy with inimitable grace." The author of this message is Danny Tisdale, founder and publisher of Harlem World Magazine. Our lifetime mayor, David N. Dinkins, received the Harlem Cultural Archive's first Harlem Legacy Award in 2008. If he were here to speak with us tonight, he would likely address all of the dignitaries and celebrities in the room with his trademark gracious opening by saying something like this: "Given the number of very important people assembled here today and the press of time, I'm tempted to resort to the practice I learned from African diplomats of simply saying the usual protocols observed." Please join me in welcoming this evening Master of Ceremonies, my dear friend, Curtis L. Archer.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Right. I'm really, truly blessed. And I told Dean and Marilyn, I'm not here for them, even though this is the house of the legacy, Schomburg, okay? I'm here for Voza Rivers. Yes, indeed, indeed. And I guess, is Sandman here? So if any of you go overtime, we can pull you off? Just wondering. Okay. But you know what? I definitely want to give major props to, of course, who you just saw, Glenn Hunter there, my guy. Did he ever tell you that he and we share something? Now remember, I'm from the BX. Anton, I know you there. I know you. That's right. But I have been a Harlemite since 1980. I got stories. You guys no longer require me to show my passport. I know this. Okay. But having said that, I guess also I want to give him props. And also, Dan Patterson, where you at, man? For allowing me the honor of actually being able to MC tonight, okay? And we're going to get right into it. And I know you've heard them. They are truly spectacular. And that, of course, is who? Impact Repertory Theater. Give it up, yes. They are, of course, an Oscar and Grammy-nominated youth arts and leadership training program that promotes the positive development of young people ages 12 to 19 by providing a learning environment that encourages, nurtures, and challenges its students. Impact offers workshops, leadership programs, and performance opportunities. The programs and curriculum encourage Impact members to have the imagination, skills, and confidence to create their special place in the world. A core Impact value is attending college and giving back through active community service. Impact's ongoing performance program, Creative Labs, and 12-week intensive artist and activist training program are tuition-free, okay? Impact is rooted in creative self-expression, and anchored by a commitment to safe space, outstanding effort, and service to the community, SOS. We will now have a performance by the Impact Repertory Theater. They'll be performing their Oscar, Grammy-nominated song, Raise It Up and Happiness. Give it up. Come on now. Impact. Give it up one more time. Impact, Repertory Theater, come on. And also, one of the things I certainly have to recognize is the fact that this is live. So live theater. You saw that change there, right? Right. And I guess I want to acknowledge, and if I mess up, don't get on me too hard, please. But elected officials who are here in the room, okay? One of them are there. I call her, is that Borough President Emeritus, Ms. Gail Brewer? Yeah. Come on up. I see also my state senator. Is that Cordell Clare? Yes? Now, I know we did have, earlier, we did have Jordan, right? He's not still in the building, or is he? No? Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. Okay. See, it takes a team, a village to recognize this. But I also understand. Yeah. Oh, you said, yeah. Hey, my council member, how you doing? So this is what I'm talking about, the village right here, okay? Let me know if I go off script, all right? And one of the things I understand that some of y'all are packing, and we don't mean weapons, we're talking about procs, is that correct? Okay, Borough President Emeritus, you have one? Would you like to come on?
I'm now in the city council. I just want Curtis to know that. I am not the borough president. I get in a whole lot of trouble for that, but thank you very much. And I was able to serve with the very great Inez Dickens, so I want to thank you so much. So I do have a small certificate proclamation here for Voza Rivers, but I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I don't know anybody who's more respected or loved, literally in the world. Forget just in Harlem, but I mean everywhere. And I love the fact that he was a police officer undercover before he became an incredibly well-known producer, choreographer, leader of the arts in Harlem and really worldwide. I think that's an amazing fact. And I also love the fact that I think of all, I'm just guessing, but of all the things he's done, impact on the young people is probably top of his list. The fact that he created them, that's very, very special. From the New Heritage Theater to all the work that he's done in terms of film, he also, the Harlem Arts Alliance, when you stand in particularly at Riverbank, all the arts organizations, 350 of them belong to the Harlem Arts Alliance, founded by Voza Rivers. The story of going to South Africa and creating Serafina, that's like for the books. He can tell you the story. It's one of those things that only Voza Rivers could have pulled off. All the challenges, and he did it. Then when I see him just at the beginning of Harlem Week, standing there at Ulysses Grant, and all of these musicians and artists coming up, each one paying homage to Voza Rivers, because not only has he brought them to the stage, but he has nurtured and cultured with them, and they love him just like the audience does. So that's also an image that I have. But I first met him at Amsterdam Houses, which is on 64th Street, and that was Community Works with Barbara Horwitz. And now, of course, they have Harlem is Healing and many other exhibits, but that's how I first met him. And he has been involved with everything in Harlem, and he has from the Apollo to smaller organizations, and he has the most important two. I'm so excited about this. We always wonder, we think we have archives. I don't have shit compared to Voza Rivers. But I'm telling you, I want to thank President Vincent Boudreau because his archives are already at City College. That means that for generations to come, they will know what Voza Rivers accomplished. That is very special. So I'm just here to say Thank you for all that you do. I always see you in charge quietly, humbly, but more knowledgeable about the arts than anybody else I know. Well, thank you, Voza Rivers, and I will leave this proclamation up here for you. Thank you so much.
Well, actually, Gail, before you leave, I got to bring somebody. The man of the hour himself, Voza Rivers. Voza.
I brought my new Heritage T-shirt. It's right in the bag over there. I'm just afraid not to bring it.
Okay. Who else is still packing here? My council member, anything? Councilman Yusef Salam. Give it up. Come on.
May the peace, mercy, and blessings from the owner of all peace, mercy, and blessings be upon each and every one of you and your families. Voza, since I've known you, it has been my honor to be an elected official and a leader in this very community. Knowing the history, knowing all that you have done, knowing that what you have been doing really is about what I've been calling reverse Sankofa. Sankofa is to go back and get it. But when you are a master planner and a master builder, you are, in fact, projecting yourself into the future 7 generations down the line so that they will know how to break every single generational curse. And so, my story is a story that is full of wonder. But more important than that, it is a story that is full of the grace of God. God allowed me to survive with my whole mind intact, so that when the time came for me to lead, when the time came for me to be an example for future generations, I was able to do that. But what I like to do is really talk about the multiple things that we have coming down the pipe. Because see, if you've been in Voza's space, you realize that you go downtown, you see big, expensive, all kinds of opportunity. But in Harlem, it feels like we live in squalor. But even in the space that you have on 135th Street and all throughout the district, these are pieces of light. They are, in fact, reflecting and brightening and emboldening a history that is being erased. That no one would have imagined us being here in a space where they're saying, forget about them. And I'm lifting those words up in the era of never forget. Because in the era of never forget, Voza, you remind us. And it's beautiful and it's humbling, but more important, it's instructive. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Yes. Senator Claire, anything, yes, to present?
the same thing. Good evening, everyone. You know, there's a lot going on in Albany, and there's a lot going on in the world. But I felt like it was nothing for me to pause and be here today for Voza Rivers. All I can say is that you must have known that this day would come, because as others have mentioned, we are under threat of erasure. People trying to erase the culture, to erase the history. But it's because of seeds that were planted decades ago by people with vision that we stand here celebrating 100 years of the Schomburg. Yeah, give it up. Celebrating a true living legend, Voza Rivers. It is a privilege to have history right here. And I take advantage of it all the time because, you know, when I got elected, I wanted to do this great tribute to John Coltrane. And one of the people I called to find out how I should go about doing that was Voza Rivers. And he supported it 100%. And look at us, this year we're celebrating 100 years of Coltrane. A lot of what Voza has accomplished, and no one speaker or 10 speakers probably ever come up here and say all of the things, but one other thing that I am truly grateful for was what is now Harlem Week. I don't think it's a week, it's like a whole Harlem summer. But the vision that you shared with others to start Harlem Day, that really escalated into the thing that it is now, that so many generations are able to enjoy and take pride and comfort. And you know, when I come out during Harlem Week, you've made Harlem so much bigger, because all them people are not from Harlem. But it feels like it. It's so good. They come from all over. They come back no matter what. And you're the reason that they do that. So all I can say to you is thank you so much. There's a lot in this, and I'm not going to read it to everybody, but I want you to have it so you can know that we honor you, this state honors you, this community honors you, the culture owes you so much. And it is not just entertainment. You know, somebody who was discovering herself and learning about what was going on, because, you know, they didn't teach us about apartheid in school. They didn't teach us what was going on with black people around the world. I had people, other people like Ilambe Brathwaite, Miss Ruby Smalls, and people who told us what was going on. But for you to have the vision and the insight to bring history through Serafina, which I was able to go and see, and really, really immerse myself in that movement and the sanctions that were being brought at the time. Art is truly revolutionary, and I thank you for being a part of the revolution. I just need, oh, there you go. Is this a good picture? You got it, Charles? Okay.
Thank you, Senator Claire. Now, representing, of course, the Public Advocate's Office, Jumani Williams, Gina Williams.
Good evening, all. As protocol has already been established, it is with great privilege and honor that I, Gina Costello-Williams, am here on behalf of Honorable Jemani D. Williams, the Public Advocate of New York City, to present Mr. Rosa Rivers with a walking legend of history from the United States all the way through other continents and countries as far as the United Kingdom, spreading impact through culture, education, and to thrive in the existence of where we are of a political status right now. And these footprints of impact are so important and profound that you leave for us to try to emulate inside of your steps. Is an honor and a privilege for those to stand on your shoulders. So on behalf of Jemani D. Williams, the Public Advocate of New York City, I do have this congratulatory letter, ceremonial letter for you, and thank you once again. Peace and blessings all.
Thank you, Gina. Next up, we also have the Manhattan Borough President's Office, and no, it is not a member of Chic, it is Niles Robinson. Okay, let's get it straight, not Niles Robinson.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out and joining us this evening on this rainy Saturday. Very appreciative. It is an honor to be in the centennial year in the Schomburg Center for Black Research, you know, and you want to look at Black research and culture, look no further than Mr. Voza Rivers we have right here. He is the culture of Harlem. You know, not only is he the culture of Harlem, I would go to say he's the culture of Black culture in itself when it comes to the arts and how we express ourselves and how we are able to emulate the greatness that we are born with. So kudos to the wildfire in the concrete jungle that is Voza Rivers, that is able to clear the way for new life to be able to bloom and grow in Harlem. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Niles Robinson. So, Voza, who knows you better? Just the electeds, or do actual personal friends, confidants know you better? Probably them, right? Okay, so one of them who I believe knows you, because you also recruited her as the ambassador, okay? That could be none other than Inez Dickens. Inez, you ready? Come on. No, you go to speak.
Hey, family. You know, I'm so pleased to be here. I want to thank all of the electeds that came to recognize Voza. I want to also acknowledge that Kathleen McCaden is here from Governor Kathy Hochul's office. Bob McCullough, are you still here? I want to acknowledge Bob McCullough because he's done a lot for Harlem. I want to thank, of course, Glenn Hunter, Harlem Cultural Archives. Yep. And Danny Teasdale from Harlem World for putting this together to honor Voza Rivers. And historian, author, the griot of black culture in Harlem particularly, even though he hails from Detroit. He has lived in Harlem and wrote about Harlem. Herb Boyd. You know, when I first got elected, I went to the city council and I was with, well, she was city council then, and she became the borough president. She's back in the city council, Gail Brewer. And Gail believed in Voza. It was actually my chief of staff, which was Lynette Velasco, who wove the pattern that put Voza and I together on that same cloth. And once I met Voza, he was such a special person. But he needed money, you know. See, you all hear him talk about the things that, not that he does, but the things that need to be done. You hear him talk about our culture, our history. He's taken these kids to, by the way, do you all like, how about those impact kids? Those are my kids. Those are my kids, because I love them. From day one, I funded them because they are the best of Harlem. And, you know, Voza talked about money when he got to me. I said, well, why are you talking to money? You know, to me, but, you know, talk about history like you do with everybody else. You know, I don't get it. But he had the historic theaters of color. Remember that, Voza? And the city council decided to defund the historic theaters of culture because certain groups had pulled out and left the black groups alone. And we decided we were going to take over City Hall. They were having a budget hearing. And Voza showed up. We had Danny Glover, Ruby Dee. Who else was it? I mean, Woody King, everybody. Voza brought everybody out to chant, to take over that hearing, to see to it that the historic theaters of color would not be defunded. You remember that, Gail, when they all showed up? That's the kind of a fighter that Voza is. And I got a special message for you from Vi Higginson, who wished that she could be here, but she is a little under the weather, and I'm going to ask that Harlem say a little prayer for her, because she's a little under the weather, but she's home now, but she still sent her love and her appreciation to Voza. So, Voza, I've got a hug for you. Where's my good luck? When that good-looking young man comes over, I'm going to go have him take me over there and hug you. But I want to thank everyone that's here to recognize Voza tonight, because Voza has been the pinnacle, the center of the fight to ensure that our black culture is kept alive, maintained, and spread, not just in Harlem, but throughout the world. Yeah, give it up for Voza. And I am personally grateful to you, Voza, for allowing me, for pushing me, for showing me the pathway in order to fund my community on the average of $100 million a year in the city council to ensure that affordable housing was built, that our cultural institutions was maintained, that the building that you stand in right here at Schaumburg, that if you go downstairs, you will see the research center, that thanks to our now city council person, Gail Brewer, and the city council for funding to see to it that it was built. Because with all of this that Voza has done, it has taken money. And in the beginning, Joseph can tell you, he went into his own pockets to fund so much of what you see. So thank Voza, thank him, and thank you, Harlem, for having allowed me the opportunity to work with Voza, to work with you. Happy, blessed Mother's Day to all the mothers, all those who would be a mother, all those who have been a mother, and to the fathers who are also mothers. God bless.
Just want to also thank Inez Dickens right here. Give it up one more time, y'all. And also call on Hank Manley. Yes. Okay.
Could you please state your full name?
Voza Rivers.
How would you describe yourself?
I'm a son of Harlem. You know, as they said, born, raised, and bred, all in this wonderful community called Harlem. I lived on West 132nd Street, between, at that time, it would be called 5th and Lenox Avenue, before there was the high-rises that we now see, like Lenox Terrace wasn't built then. Lincoln Project was the only high-rise that I knew when I was growing up. What I think was amazing for me by being a son of this community is I was exposed to a lot of different ethnic groups. So you would have people coming from the South, people coming from the Caribbean, and then you'd have people who were so-called quote-unquote entrepreneurs like the Chinese, who also lived or had a business on 132nd Street. So it was always amazing for me as I was growing up to be exposed to those kinds of things. My role in the police department was very, very interesting, because at that time I met someone named Percy Sutton. I was 19 years old, but I want to just back up a little before I get into that, because the other area of entrepreneurship, call it street entrepreneurship, was that a few guys, we would go down to a place called Delancey Street. And Delancey Street was where you could buy things wholesale and come uptown and sell those things. So I and my guys would go to Delancey Street and buy clothing items and come back uptown and sell clothes. not only did I make a hit with the guys when I came uptown and the ladies, it allowed me an opportunity to meet the number runners, the gangsters, the tavern owners, the church goers, all buying some of the things that I came uptown with. And Percy Sutton was one of those people. He used to buy ties from me, and he'd buy shirts from me. And it was a great relationship. At some point, 19 years old, I received a letter from U.S. Army that I was going to be considered to be drafted to go to the war by joining the Army. I wasn't joining, I was being drafted. And I panicked. Some of the other guys that I grew up with, Craig Foster, lived in the Riverton houses, Bill Covington, they went to great high schools. And one of the goals that we talked about was that because I was always a street guy and always so ambitious, was wouldn't it be great if when we finished our college, going through college, that we could start a firm of something, we should be lawyers. Sounded good? I said, yeah, I agree, that would be great. So now, I go to Percy Sutton and tell him that I'm going to be going into the service. And he said, well, is that something you want to do? I said, no, Mr. Sutton, I don't believe in the Vietnam War. I definitely wouldn't want to go, and I don't know what to do. He said, well, Voza, there are occupations that are exempt, and maybe you should consider one of those occupations that would keep you here. I says, like what? You know, he said, well, listen, you know, I'm an elected official. We have municipalities, and municipalities need people for certain positions. And he said, you know, if you were older and you were a doctor, you could be exempt. But also, if you were working as a court officer or in the courts, so some of these positions are exempt. You should think about things like that. I said, oh, really? I said, but I'm not prepared for any of those. I'm 19 years old. Is there any other way? He said, well, there's some other occupations, policemen, firemen. We need those people. The municipalities need them, so why don't you think about that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I'm sorry. I'm Henry Manley, commonly referred to as Hank Manley. And Voza and I, we met in 1957. We were in the 9th grade together. Vo came into my awareness by his popularity because everybody was referring to Voza Rivers, who was a sharp dresser. And I quietly envied that and whatnot. Vo was a very decent individual. In Douglas Junior High School, where we attended, one of the things that was taught to us is that, number one, you live life by the numbers. And they were very kind and very deliberate and let us know exactly how to live. We had to wear ties, if you remember, Vo. And if you didn't wear a tie, they would give you what we called chest protectors. They were gigantic ties, and usually they had a girl on it or a woman, and you would spend the day being laughed at because everybody knew that you didn't have the right garments on. But it was a fun and a very deliberate education in Douglas Junior High School. I think Vo would agree that Douglas Junior High School really taught us how to enter the world and be successful. As Vo said, notice in his interview, he said that he would go down to Delancey Street and he would purchase items to bring back to sell. He didn't steal them and whatnot. And that's where we met again. Because of that factor, he didn't have a police record and he was able to join the Transit Police Department. And that's where we met again in 1965 in the Transit Police Academy. He went on to distinguish himself as a detective. I eventually became a juvenile specialist and wrote several grants. In fact, the grant that I did write probably reduced your volume of arrests, because the Transit Authority hired 401 kids that were called entry level. They had disorderly conduct or they jumped a turnstile. And the Transit hired them for a summer. And of the 401, only one became a recidivist. That is, only one got arrested again. And that was one of my proudest things. But I was very proud to let everybody know in the Transit Authority that I knew Vo Rivers. He's always been one of the stars in my life. In fact, when I was coming across the Madison Avenue Bridge, as you know, it was raining very hard, and all of a sudden the sun came out. And that was an indicator that I was going to see my friend, Vo Rivers, So I came after Inez Dickens. I don't know if she remembers me, but we used to be members of the the MLK Democratic Club together. And all the things that she said, I can only echo about Voza Rivers. Fast forward, 1965, Vo vested. I quit the police department in 1978 and went to Einstein and Montefiore as a manager of personnel. And then I believe it was in 1980, Dr. Lionel McMarron, who at that time was a superintendent of District 5, came to Voza, Ollie Walker, Ed Simmons, myself, and they said that they were closing Junior High School 139, Douglas Junior High School. And they were going to relocate the staff to IS 10. And they figured that if they were able to get some computers in that school, that it would distinguish the school and they would get a heads up on technology. Now, I don't know if any of you remember that time, but I mean, that's when they had the floppy disk and all the rest. And we were able to do a fundraiser in which we honored Ramar Bearden as an honorary person. Dr. Kenneth Clark, who graduated from Douglas Junior High School, he also attended our fundraiser, and it was very, very, very successful. Again, Vo was a contributor because he was able to contact all of these people and whatnot. And Vo's artistic and cultural, I didn't know this when we were junior high school, that he was, we were in the police department doing push-ups, running around and doing crazy things. And this guy had all of this culture inside of him, And so he introduced me to culture. I remember Roger Furman. Yeah, okay, I hear that. Voza introduced me and my wife to come down and watch some of the plays. When Voza went over because of Serafina, he came back and introduced me to a South African artist, and I purchased a painting from that, and so he was stamping me with black culture. I too am a son of Harlem, but the cultural aspect, I didn't. I was playing a bassoon and classical music, but Vo was into a little jazz. He introduced me to that. And I'm not ashamed to say that each one, we got to teach one, and you did that for me, my brother, you know? So I've been the titular head of the Douglas Junior High School Alumni Association since 1981. And we meet at least, well, we used to meet 4 times a year. And now we're getting older, so we had last one, it was in 2025, I believe. And we had another one more recent than that. But I've been blessed to stay in touch with several of my friends. Could I take this opportunity to ask the guys in the Douglas group if they're out there? Just stand up if they're, you know, it's hard for me to see. Hey, there they are. Yeah. You know. So we follow this guy around, you know, and cheer him on. But in all seriousness, Vo, it is definitely a pleasure and an honor for me to be here and pay tribute to a great person who I can proudly say is my dear friend and my brother, Mr. Voza Rivers. Thank you, my brother. I think I have very little more to say. I mean, I can talk for a while. You all ready? No. But anyway, I think that I'm going to say fais adieu. And, you know, thank you all for helping me in being here to honor this great man. He has put a stamp of culture on the Harlem community that no one else has done before. And thank you, Mr. Voza Rivers.
Beautiful. Give it up. Come on. Hank Manley, give it up.
Oh, I have one other thing. Okay. Just one. One of your friends is going to come up here and read a poem to you. Okay. And I'm going to have it framed, and we're going to hand it to you at another time. Okay. This is Miss Mavis Alexander.
You know me. I know you. The audience doesn't know me. I'm Mavis Alexander. And I went to school with Voza back in elementary school when we were like that, little teeny tots. So today, a few days ago when Hank told me about your evening, and I'm so honored to be here to share my appreciation for you with my little poem that I wrote for you. Voza River. Talking to Mike. Voza River. Rivers. Your aura shines brightly like a Broadway, Apollo, marquee, neon sign featuring a star. Your waters flow like your last name, from Africa's rivers to the Harlem River. Your costume style on the stage of life went from St. Aloysius Elementary School, navy blue student's uniform, and a navy blue uniform worn by New York City Transit Police, to your street style, rock star, producer, superfine Madison Avenue, GQ, and an added touch of Harlem's Diaper Dan, turning heads with your swagger. Yes. Your productions, like your aura, magically light up the stage and the audience through the writer's stories, characters, and music, etc. We watch and enter into another world as we invoke emotions of joy and pain while the plot twists and turns until the end. We know our lines are to give it up with a standing ovation for an encore. On this day, May the 9th, 2006, at the Schomburg Center for Research of Black Culture, we honor you along with your favorite quote, "Let my work speak for itself." You're welcome. The belief is that good work will be seen, appreciated, and shared with others, automatically representations of God's love and grace. We know that you are in good company because Maya Angelou also said, "Your beliefs and your work will speak for you." So we speak our words with flowers of appreciation for all that you are, all that you have, all that you give, and all that you receive. The village of Harlem loves your candid smile and the way that you make us produce that keep it real smile too. Thank you, Voza, for doing such a great job. And now I get to be a director. So on 1, 2, and 3, we're all gonna say, bravo.
Bravo.
I'm the director, and I didn't count yet. So 1, 2, and 3. Bravo! And then just a little added touch, love and light with a little bit of gold in it for you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. How you guys doing out there? And you see who it's all about, right? Right. See, I'm not even trying that. I have a new hip. I'm not even trying that, okay? Because I will not be getting up. All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm. How you doing, Voza? I'm here. That was a good comeback. You know that, right? So we're going to have a little change over here. And as you know, when I came to Harlem, because remember, I'm originally from what? BX. Thank you. That's right. So remember, when you see this is not Wakanda. It's a BX, baby, all day. So, and Athena, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Thank you. So I came there, and I was subjected to 2 wonderful people in my life, well, both mentors. One of them I no longer have, and how many of you guys remember Lloyd Williams? Okay, exactly, okay. We talk about, along with Voza, one of the founders of Harlem Week, which is now Harlem Month and a Half or beyond, okay? And then, of course, Voza Rivers, who we still have here, and needs and deserves all the flowers, okay? And Voza, you know I love trivia, right? Okay, so I didn't realize that there were not 1, but 2 people who used to be part of the Black Panther Party who ended up working over at Columbia University. I didn't know that, okay? Does anybody know one of them? Yes. Okay, so maybe I should just bring that one up. I'll just refer to him, how about this? Panther Baby, Jamal Joseph, bring him up, come on.
You've been a great helper to me. I want you to give me relief. I says, what do you mean give you relief? He says, I want you to take on the business management of the theater. He said, you have some excellent skills. I want to concentrate on my side, my creativity. I'm a playwright, I'm a director, I'm a set designer. I teach classes at NYU and the New School. And I have a book published that I want to go and do lectures and talk to people. I'd feel comfortable if I could do that and that you could handle the business. I said, absolutely, I would do that. So that began me now being a part of the hierarchy, not as a volunteer, but he gave me business manager title. He gave me so many damn titles, I can't remember them all, but over the years I did all of that. 1983, he's diagnosed with AIDS. And he was very sick, hit him very quickly. They didn't call it AIDS then, but he was very sick and he was hospitalized and he died. And when he died, the board of directors, headed by Evelyn Cunningham, talked to me and said, Voza, you need to take over the theater. She says, I can't do that, I'm not qualified. You should. The board made a decision that we think that Roger saw so much in you that you should become the head of this theater company. And I said, you know, I can't walk in Roger's footsteps. I don't have the experience. I can't do it. They said, no, Voza, that's what we would want from you. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I'll be involved in the theater, and look at all the actors and all the others who came to the theater. You don't need a person like me. No, Roger loved you. He talked about you all the time, and that's what we would like. But we'll give you time to think about it. I said, okay. Next morning, I get a call, and the call is from Ruby Dee. And Ruby Dee says, Voza, I understand that you said no to the board. I said, yes. She said, no, you didn't. You didn't say no. You meant to say yes. You made a mistake.
Dr. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And we're in that moment, aren't we, family? But we've been in that moment from enslavement to now. We've always believed them, but we've always had in our community our elders, our warriors, our singers, our preachers, our teachers that also believe something else. Greater is the love that we have in us than he that's in the world. Yes? And Voza, yes, please, could you? And Voza Rivers is the epitome of that. So when I met him, I think what Voza saw was not a member of the Black Panther Party who was coming out of prison after 9 years and wondered what did someone who had been a police detective and someone who had been a young leader in the Harlem chapter of the Black Panther Party, how we were moving through the world differently, but what he saw is how we could move together. And that's going on 40 years, Voza, of our relationship. Voza, I want to ask about that belief in your ability, your superpower, among many superpowers, you know, always being the flyest brother in Harlem. And to top it off, that smooth voice. Come on, let's give credit for that voice. That's the voice you remember, like, you know, Paul Robeson had the deep voice. Harry Belafonte had that, you know what, Mr. B had that, what are we doing? And Voza Rivers has. But I came to Voza, and Voza staged a play for me. We were introduced by the great Charles Dutton. I had given Mr. Dutton a play that I had written in prison, and he recommended me to Voza Rivers. And we did a reading right here. Ellis Hazlip was on staff at the time. And Charles Dutton was there, Nile Rodgers was there. We had this amazing cast. Chanel Perry directed that. And if you can imagine someone who had earned their college degrees in prison and formed a theater company in prison, what that meant to me to be able to premiere my work on the outside here because of you, Voza. So it's a very special night.
Thank you.
And then we were in a moment in 1997 where Giuliani was showing us who he really was. And that meant cutting arts programs and after-school programs and funding for not-for-profits. Does this sound familiar, family? And I wanted to bring a youth theater program to Harlem. A young man who lived in my building had gotten shot at a party. Good kid, he was just standing up for his sister. And I remember coming home that night in the summer, and this young man's mother was a sister who had been on public assistance, got her GED, got her associate's degree, got off public assistance, was an executive secretary, and when she lost her son, the apartment was too small to contain her grief. And when I came home, she was outside, and the women from our building, my wife and the women on the block, were standing around her, consoling her, and we men were standing on the side watching the women cry. And in that moment, I realized I could have been in Mississippi after a lynching, South Africa after a tire burning, and wanted to do something more than standing with the men watching the women cry. So I came to Voza and I said, I want to start this youth program in Harlem. I had been working downtown at a place called City Kids, but I want to have it in Harlem. And we need, and I want it to be leadership and creative arts, not just a performance. And I'd like New Heritage to be a fiscal conduit for this program, because when I get some donations so we can stipend the instructors, et cetera, and for the first and only time in close to 40 years, Voza Rivers told me no. He said no. New Heritage would not be a fiscal conduit for this program. This needs to be a New Heritage program. Impact Repertory Theater, and we became the co-founders of the Young People, the program that you just saw. Voza, just about that superpower. Having the ability to, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And so we know what that means in terms of what's going on with racism and brutality and fascism, all the things that we're experiencing, but you also had the ability among many artists. Few artists have passed through Harlem. I don't know if any have passed through Harlem and not been touched by your mentorship and your support and your belief. Where does that come from? Where's that ability to kind of believe in people, see what others can't see, and to empower them?
I know that I've inherited something special, but it's God's work. It's not my work. I have been fortunate to travel many roads and to meet people like yourself. So when I met Jamal, this enthusiastic young man who had just come out of prison, for me, I saw an opportunity to work with someone who was creative. I had no idea that when Jamal was in prison, a woman by the name of Yuri Kochiyama used to bring letters from prisoners and some of the letters came from people like Jamal, and she had given me something to read that Jamal had written. I read it, and I thought it was great, and we moved on. A number of years later, Jamal comes out of prison. We meet, and he spoke about his time in prison and this production that he wanted to do. And I just felt compelled. It wasn't even a question. I didn't think about it. I just said, I want to option this play on the spot. He said, oh, you're going to do my play? I said, no. I said, I'm going to option it. And the reason why I wanted to option it was to give him a bit of comfort to continue to do what he wanted to do, even if I didn't do it. So I optioned his play. And a year later, that play was done right here at the Schomburg. And for me, you know, over the years, I've been on the receiving end of exposure that I look for collaborative efforts in moving our culture forward. It's not me by myself. It's about attaching myself with others who also are positive and feel good about who they are. And if you live in this community, have a love for this community. So for me, I think that it comes out. I don't think about it. It's just part of my DNA. And that's who I am.
We've all been blessed by that, Voza. Thank you. I'll just wrap it up by saying, for me, that was, again, the beginning of the journey, and this is before, my tenure at, Columbia University, where I've been on faculty for 30 years, the first black chair of the Graduate Film School. There's been documentary awards, Emmy nominations, the Oscar nomination that we all shared with Impact. But for the young people, Impact is about to turn 30 next year.
Yes.
We've had over 1,000 young people pass through the program. Leadership and education was always an important part, and we now have generations of Impact. We call it generation every 3 or 4 years when they move on to college, of Impact members who have their graduate, their undergraduate, graduate degrees. We have 2 PhDs and 1 doctoral candidate. And they all talk about the mentorship they received from New Heritage Theater and from Uncle Voza Rivers. So from Impact, from me, from all of us, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. What's next?
Jamal Joseph, Panther Baby, yes. We have a couple more clips, and we're going to roll one right now. And that features, of course, who you saw. Yes, are you going to embrace the word emeritus or what? I just want to know. That's you, Gail. Yes, indeed. Don't look over to Glenn. We'll roll the clip now. Let's see. Okay?
Because one of the steps about funding is that a lot of us get funding from the city and state government. We get government funding. We don't get philanthropic organizations that'll come in and just write a $100,000 check. And our elected officials are limited with what they can do. And it's very competitive. Ozzie and Ruby knew that. Woody King and I also knew that there were theater companies downtown that had similar budgets as we had uptown, but when they got their grants, they were receiving much more for similar kind of projects or productions than we were receiving. So in one of our informal conversations with Ozzy and Ruby, we shared with them that discretion, that existed between downtown and uptown. They said, how can we help? And we said, our elected officials need to help us change that. And Ozzy and Ruby decided that they will hold a press conference on the steps of City Hall to discuss this discrepancy about funding downtown and uptown. And as a result of that, we created, again, the Coalition of Theaters of Color. The city council members heard Ruby Dee chastise them about this process and this discrepancy of the funding. And as a result, the Coalition of Theaters of Color became a line item in the city's budget. To secure that theaters of color would be given an extra look and an extra line of dollars going to them. We started out with them, with the theaters of color, where it was 12 organizations in the beginning. Today, there are 55 organizations with a budget of $8 million. That's distributed. Thank you, Ozzy, and thank you, Ruby.
Gail Brewer. Voza, you're always giving out the best swag. You know this, man. Come on. Yes.
Thank you very much. Voza, you'll be interested to know that in a recent discussion of the theaters of color, and I always think of Inez because she really did fight for that. I just was backing her up. But one of the people in the group that's there now, much younger, and they looked at the list, and to their credit, they said, these are not all black or of color. Who the hell are these people? And so it's interesting. They have been debating this for the last 2 years now. And I hope that you end up with more money, because some of them who aren't really theaters of color might get kicked out, which would be fine with me. But $8 million is still not enough. And I know you and I have had this conversation. Not enough money. So, I mean, it's an honor to be sitting here like no other honor I think I've ever had. And I will say that the way, and Jamal said it best, but how do you go about, whether it's building Serafina or figuring out who's going to be part of Harlem Month in terms of the acts and the music and the theater, or just how you bring people together for the theater, for the music, or just to be on stage? How do you go about thinking what it is that you can put together that makes sense? Because it always makes sense, and it's always done with such admiration, respect, creativity. Nobody else does that. And you also have, in this world, with all due respect to everybody, that's pretty challenging, sometimes corrupt, sometimes nasty, you are the person of reason, intelligence, and integrity. And that's not easy, particularly in New York City and the world that we live in. So how do you go about thinking how to put things together?
I think I don't have patience for playing around. I connect and share what I can bring to the table, and if I think it's important. I've always thought of myself as an individual, not as a pauper. I never wanted to go to people with hat in hand says, woe is me. I knew that if I put my mind to it, that it could happen. And I've met people like you, Gail, who supported me from day one. Inez is here.
and there's a few others who, who traveled with me, who believed in me. And other things happen. One of the things that I'm very proud of also is that here we are in Harlem. Harlem's known as the cultural capital of Black America, and that's a heavy legacy. Roger Furman and the American Negro Theater was in the basement of this building, and that's when they started their company. 20-something years later, I meet Roger Furman, and he talks about what happened in this theater for he and Ozzie and Sidney when they were all young men and women. And with that kind of history and understanding that, yes, I'm in the theater, but look at the shoulders that I'm standing on. And I have to make sure that it is protected. And so for me, I have run my theater a lot differently from other theaters. I look at collaborations. I listen to what Roger accomplished with the Black Book, with Toni Morrison, and earlier Hank Manley, who was here, mentioned Dr. Kenneth Clark, Kenneth and Mamie Clark, who also graduated from Kenneth Clark from Frederick Douglass School, Congressman Rangel. Congressman Rangel grew up on 132nd Street. I grew up on 132nd Street in the same block. I went to a Catholic school, St. Aloysius. Charlie Rangel went to St. Aloysius. We were taught by Black nuns, which was something that wasn't well known around the world, that they had a group of Black nuns here in Harlem, and they taught us. I went to Frederick Douglass Junior High School. Charlie Rangel went to Frederick Douglass Junior High School. And I was amazed at when I got a chance to get close to Congressman Rangel. He had a little secret with me, and the secret was that he remembered the song for our junior high school. And in between meetings, and he sits next to me, he would start singing the song in my ear. And I said, Mr. Rangel, I don't remember. And this was a joke that he had, but what it was is he was very proud of the education that he received. He didn't go to college right away, went into the service, but we brought that together. Percy Sutton, another young man, Lloyd and I were Boy Scouts together, and
St. Martin's Church.
St. Martin's Church, and we liked each other, and Lloyd, fortunate enough, became attached to, he became attached to, and this is what happens when you're 80-something years old, sometimes it sticks, but Malcolm X. And Malcolm X was Lloyd's godfather. And over the years, Percy Sutton adopted me. Percy Sutton was Malcolm X's attorney. And it was just so interesting on the path that we took, with everything that we wanted to do and accomplish centered around this community. And today, I'm lonely at the top because Lloyd isn't with me. And we did so much together, but our legacy continues. Jamal shared with you, it's been 40 years with Jamal, but the young people, thousands of them that went through our program, to know, and the program has always been free. It wasn't about going and begging people to support it. We decided that we were going to support it ourselves, and we launched that program, and it still exists today. So this afternoon, you got a chance to see the youngest kid was 8 years old on the stage performing. And so for us, and for the work that I've done, I know that the legacy continues. I've just been fortunate to meet so many wonderful people along my journey, and it's never about me, it's about us. It is never taking accolades that I did this and all of that. It's not about that. It's how we work together, and to me, that's most important.
You are a living legend, and the part that I can play is to get some more of that $8 million to increase for the theaters and for Harlem and for the arts. That's what government is supposed to do.
Thank you, Jill.
And so I love you just like everybody else here. I do remember sitting at some tables with Lloyd Williams and the Chamber of Commerce, and it was like good cop, bad cop, because Lloyd would, get money out of everybody at the table, and then this good cop to my left would be talking about the arts. It was a wonderful theater all by itself. Thank you very much. We love you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Gail Brewer. Come on, y'all. Mhm.
Thank you. I wear this with pride.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. We have enough. Yeah, let's cue it. Cue the video.
I always believed in partnerships and collaborations. A lot of the things that I benefited from was collaborations with people. So when we gathered together for the Black organizations, then there was the Hispanic organizations, and through the process of going to City Hall with Ozzie and Ruby, I also knew that other elected officials that we could go to that could be ambassadors for our ask, we need to identify. And one of those persons that we identified with early on was Inez Dickens. And Inez Dickens says, I got it. So I said, listen, Inez, yes, we got a line item, and yes, you were very helpful in helping us, but there are a whole lot of other organizations that are not being funded, and they do good work, and it's about the work. And she said, I'm going to help you. And as a result of that, we started talking to other organizations about joining this coalition. And this coalition has grown substantially. So I had to create another division. I had the theater, and the theater was doing what it does. And then we created the Harlem Arts Alliance. And the Harlem Arts Alliance, we started out again in 2001, the day before the bombing of the World Trade Center in 2001.
One more time, Inez Dickens.
Voza, you have been the true warrior for Black history, our arts. You have worked so hard, and we are so grateful to you for all that you have done to see to it that some of that funding is equalized. But I have a question. because, when you used to be a police officer, and in Harlem, that's questionable at times. But you got out of that and got involved with our culture, our history, to promote it. You taught me a lot about where all the funding was. I want to know from you, how did you know? And you had never been elected before. And all of a sudden you just appeared as the godfather of our culture. And you were giving directions to everybody. Then it was Bill Perkins and Charles Barron, and you were giving them all these directions about what to do and where to get the money. How did you know? How did you know? Because you were educating them, and you educated me, and you educated Gail. So I want to know, how did you know all of this about where all those little pots of money were, and how to equalize the funding that had been denied black institutions for generations. And now we're still not getting our fair share, by the way. Judge Michelle Sweeting, we're still not getting our fair share, Kendall Reed. But I want to know, how did you know?
When I started the Harlem Arts Alliance as an art service organization, there were other white institutions that were part of receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars after the collapse of the World Trade Center. Ted Berger was a gentleman who headed one of the organizations and that received funding, because initially the funding was going to be directed towards cultural institutions south of Canal Street, and that funders got together, philanthropic funders got together and said, we're going to help those organizations downtown, and we're going to help them rebuild, et cetera. Ted Berger heard about me, called me up, and said that I understand that you are working with a number of local groups, and I'm part of a coalition that's receiving thousands of dollars. And I think that the work that you're doing uptown is important, and I would like to have a conversation with you about getting you in the mix. And I said, getting me in the mix, what does that mean? Harlem Arts Alliance was founded in 2001. We didn't even have a not-for-profit status. And here Ted Berger heard about me and what I was doing with the people, mobilizing meetings, et cetera. And he made a commitment, and he said, listen, I'm going to help you. I'm going to change the funding that we're giving to those organizations south of Canal Street, and I want to include you. But when I include you, let's talk about Northern Manhattan, let's talk about East Harlem, and all of a sudden, all of us were in the mix. So there were times with Ted Berger and his organization that I used to go down there and sit and listen, Inez, because he allowed me. We had this friendship, and I learned so much about what was happening, and I brought it back uptown. And I knew that this was something that I needed to share, and I wanted to take care of our community.
So this came from listening. Listening.
Yes. Yes. You know, Ted Berger passed recently too, and I always wanted to share, because a lot of people didn't know that story about Ted Berger and myself, but he supported me. Harlem Arts Alliance went on to, I corralled a lot of the small groups. The Empowerment Zone made a decision that they were going to launch a campaign on tourism, and they wanted to deal with the 12 major institutions in Harlem. And so the Studio Museums, this organization, Dance Theater of Harlem, the bigger organizations. And then I said, well, what about us? What about the smaller groups? And they said, no, we're going to take care of them. So they put up, forgot how many millions of dollars they put up to help market and promote the Apollo Theater and these other organizations. And I was having meetings with the small groups, and fortunately for me, I was able to get to one of the board members of the Empowerment Zone and told her that we needed to be included. And she sat me down and said we'd have to do a memorandum where it is an opportunity for funders from all over the city to make a decision as opposed to looking at Harlem. And I just said, well, you're the Empowerment Zone. Started in Harlem with Congressman Rangel. And you said you can't support us, the smaller organizations. And we went back and forth. A RFP was created for all of the city, for the entire city, that the Empowerment Zone existed to fund cultural organizations. And that meant that to create another way of funding going to the smaller groups that I described, they said it's open, so the big and the small, you're all in a pot together. Fortunately, the RFP was done, and it was structured so that they heard my voice and the voices of the smaller groups, and we were able to receive a grant from the Empowerment Zone. We received our first grant was $1 million. And it was a 4-year grant, so that's $250,000 for 4 years. But we did it. But we weren't even a 501c3. Ted Berger stepped up and says, Voza, we will be your conduit. So again, I was able, and our organization was able to move forward. And today, you know, right after the World Trade Center, there were about 12 of us meeting and talking. And after the World Trade Center, we were having monthly meetings. We started with 12. The next time it was 25. The next time it was 75. Within 3 years, we had 800 members for the Harlem Arts Alliance. So the advocacy and determination and the stick-to-itiveness is part of what I know. I know that I'm blessed, and that's what I do know. And I surround myself with good people, all my staff and the people like yourselves and you and Gail. I mean, you guys have been angels to me. I was fortunate to be, you know, my mother used to joke with me. She said, you know, Voza, you know, you act like Percy Sutton's your father. He said, the way he treats you, I would think that he was your dad. And a lot of people don't know that with Mr. Sutton, I was fortunate enough to work with he and Hal Jackson and a man named Clarence Jones. And when Percy put his family came to the aid of the Apollo Theater when it was on its last legs and put their money into it, another area was that we understood that if you knew anything about music, black music and recording artists, you knew about the Apollo Theater and you knew about Motown. So Percy Sutton had gotten the Apollo back up with the bright lights, and it's a yearly, monthly showtime at the Apollo on television. And along came Motown saying we should have a partnership with the Apollo Theater. And everybody agreed, and Berry Gordy offered the Apollo a record label called Apollo Theater Records. As it sounds great, Percy shared it with me, and then he came to me and he said, Voza, we're gonna have a label, Apollo Theater Records. I have a nephew who's a lawyer in Texas, and he needs to come to New York and he needs a job. And I'd like him to head up the Apollo Theater record labels, but I want you to run the label. What are you talking about, Percy Sutton? What do you mean? You want me to run the label? You got your nephew coming. He says, no. I got a nephew, but he can't get along with people. He said, but what I know in you, you can do it. So I became the chief operating officer of the Apollo Theater Records. And so you wonder how these things happen. Another story that happened because of that was that Percy Sutton wanted me to also look at artist management. And I said, why artist management? He says, well, we got a record label, we got the Apollo Theater, you got all this talent on the stage, and we should have a management company. I said, okay. With the record label? He says, no, I want a management company, and I want you to be my partner. I said, what are you talking about? Again, that's what happened. It wasn't public, a lot of people never knew. The third incident with Percy Sutton is that every Wednesday night, now we have showtime at the Apollo on television. On Wednesday nights, you have the Apollo Theater talent show. And every Wednesday night was my role to go and sit there and watch the talent. And if somebody won or someone was exceptional, I would go backstage and talk to them about signing up with the Apollo Theater. And if they didn't have management, I would say, and then we have this management company. And so that was what I was challenged with. So every Wednesday night, there was a short Japanese guy that would come in with 30 to 50 Japanese people, tourists, and they would all sit in the front at the Apollo Theater and see what was happening. And it happened every Wednesday. So one day, the gentleman asked me, well, what do you do here? Because I see you here every Wednesday. I says, oh, well, I'm looking at the talent. He said, oh, are you involved with the Apollo? I said, yeah, I'm here looking at the talent. I didn't want to tell him what my position was. That was what I wanted to share with him. He said, I'd like to get to Mr. Sutton because there's an opportunity for there to be an Apollo Theater in Japan, and I have investors who would like to see that happen. I said, oh, that's great. He said, so you work with Mr. Sutton? I said, yes, so would you approach him? So I said, well, yeah, I'll let him know that. And I went to Percy and I told him, and he said, Voza, I hear this all the time. Just forget about it. Don't even share that with me because it's not happening. But every week, this guy would come in with all of these Japanese tourists. So this particular time, he said, Voza, he said, I don't care what the amount is, just ask him, how much does he want? So I go back to Percy Sutton and I tell him, and he says, Voza, I'm tired of hearing this request. I want to give them an option, and I want $250,000. I said, oh, I'll take it back to Mr. Abe. I went back and told him what Percy said. He says, "When do I write the check?" And he wrote the check, and we opened up an Apollo Theater in Japan, where I was the executive producer for 6 years. I was so appreciative of being in Japan, I went and got married in Japan at the same time. These are stories that I don't get a chance to tell others, and it's just part of the history and the legacy. And lastly, what was very important to me, now I'm going back to the theater, I just shared with you Harlem Arts Alliance, and now I want to just share this brief story with you around what I did with South Africa, which I think is important because it's a Harlem story. I met a young man from South Africa who was getting his master's degree at Hunter College. And he was South African, and he shared with me that the artist in South Africa was using theater to help dismantle apartheid by getting the stories out to other countries on what was happening in South Africa. And he shared with me that there was a play called Voza Albert at the Lucille Lortel Theater downtown that he wanted me to see so that I could understand and get a sense of how powerful the actors are from South Africa with their using as their weapon arts and culture. And I went and I saw a play, an energy that I had never seen before by two actors. I was introduced to the two actors after the production, and they met me, and they had just won the Obie Award. Obie Award is like the Oscars or the Tonys, but it's for off-Broadway theater. And I met the guys, and they said, "We've been here, we've received this prestigious award in theater, but we haven't seen any black people. Where are the black people?" I said, "Well, you're in a space downtown that has a membership base. And when this play came, when they decided to produce it, they produced it for their members, and the members bought up all the seats. And the theater never marketed or promoted Uptown. They marketed and promoted to what was comfortable for them in their membership base." And the guy said, "Oh, so you mean to say that we're now going back to South Africa, we won't have a chance to see any black people?" I said, "No, I mean, I'm up in Harlem, I could take you around, but I can't produce you because you're here under a specific contract, and this producer is responsible for you to only perform in his theater and then send you back." And they said, "But we want to go to Harlem." The producer at the theater heard the conversation and said, they have 3 days before they go back to South Africa, so whatever they decide to do in the 3 days, it's on them, but I have their plane tickets to send them right back. I said, "That's fine." I brought them up to Harlem to my little theater on 125th Street and Lenox Avenue back then, and these two guys performed with an energy level that I had never seen before on stage, and I was just blown away by what I saw. They were so excited that they saw so many people that looked like them, and that they said, "We were home when we came to Harlem." They went back, they went back to South Africa, and they called me and said, "Voza, I want to tell you that we are working on a new play, and you have to produce it, and it has to go to Harlem first. We don't care about downtown. It has to come to Harlem." So I said, "This is great." we did the first play, 2 characters. I said, well, how many characters? Because I got a small theater. Oh, it's no problem. It's 5 actors. So I said, fine. They said, but you have to come to South Africa to see the work. I said, okay, I'll go get my visa. I go to the South African embassy to get a visa at that time because it was the height of apartheid. And the people told me, we don't want you in our country. Why are you trying to promote these plays that crucify us in terms of what is being presented, and it's all propaganda, and we don't want people like you coming to our country. I said, okay. So I come back to my office, and I called South Africa and said, guys, I'd love to be able to do your play. I know you're in rehearsals, but unfortunately I won't be able to come. And I shared with them. They said, but Voza, you have to come. You have to come. And so I said, well, let me see if I can bring you to Harlem. So I went to my funders, and all of our New York City, New York State feds, they turned me down and says, oh, you crazy. Why are you going 10,000 miles to bring actors to this country when you got all of African Americans in New York City looking for work? I says, but for 20 years, we've done that. And I wanted to expand our footprint. And I thought that this opportunity of working with South Africa, people of color, would be great for this community and to go beyond that. They all turned me down. So I called up the actors that were in rehearsal and told them what was happening. They said, Voza, you have to bring us. We were ready to come to Harlem. And I thought, and I knew that I couldn't get funding, so I asked some of my friends to help me. They said, Voza, and they agreed with the funders that this is too much, because you now want to bring 5 actors from South Africa to Harlem. And I didn't listen, and I went and took money out of the bank that I saved for my kids' to college tuition. They were very young then. And I said, I'm going to use these dollars. So now I'm prepared to bring them to America. In rehearsal, I would hear over the telephone the rehearsal, and I knew that it was something special. So now I'm determined to bring them to Harlem, and they're in rehearsal. And while they're in rehearsal, they were attacked by the government, and they killed the producer. They came with machetes. They were in a church, and they killed them. And these actors had to run out of the church to find sanction. And when they told me that story, I knew that I needed to bring them. I used that money, and I brought them into this country sight unseen. And a year later, that show went to Broadway, thanks to Harry Belafonte.
Yo, y'all, we got to give it up, right? Why are we here? Legacy? Voza Rivers? Come on, y'all. All right. Inez, thank you for that, for sure. Right. Dan, you had a little something that you want to say?
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. And as Ozzie Davis said of Malcolm X, he was a prince. And I'd like to give a tribute to Voza Rivers for being our prince of Harlem.
Also, Voza, Jamal did whisper in my ear, New Heritage Films. Okay? That's all.
Jamal and I have over 55 documentaries, from Percy Sutton to, oh my God. We have captured this history. I'm coming back here with my South African group because the second play I did was called Sarafina. And Sarafina was on Broadway. And like Impact, Serafina, 80% of the cast were teenagers. Those teenagers came to this country. They performed at Lincoln Center, and I brought them up here to City College, and they performed. And then they went to Broadway. They were in Broadway for X number of months, sold out each performance, and then we toured around the world for 10 years, a South African play called Serafina. When the play was over, we got a call from Disney saying that they were going to create a musical called The Lion King, and they would like permission to come up to meet us to see if any of our young people would be eligible to be into The Lion King.
And June 16th, we'll be back celebrating that.
Yes.
So we want to end on that note, that,
Yes.
that the circle continues. Back in the Schaumburg on June 16th.
Thank you, Schaumburg. Give it up, y'all. Thank you all for coming, and have a very, very safe and peaceful weekend.